So in the upcoming update for the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, Gun is giga buffing Grandpa. This is exactly what I warned tribalistic victim mains would happen when they were praising the initial Grandpa rework before it released. You can go back and watch the video for yourself. It was always obvious that the Grandpa rework was going to be problematic, and of course the chances of Gun ever reverting the failed rework are nearly zero. So like I said, they're going to double down, triple down on it, no matter how many problems it causes. So now let's go ahead and take a look at these changes. Side note real quick, museum mode is also releasing on August 1st along with this update. Very exciting way to announce that, but yeah, anyway, on to the Grandpa changes. Suffocating grip now activates at Grandpa level 1 and makes close encounters 25% easier for the entire family. So let's break this down. This was done to stop grapple mania. I think it will accomplish that quite decently. However, this also not only doesn't fix rushing, it actually encourages rushing. Because good victims can no longer spam grapple in every single encounter, they're now going to want to escape even faster than before. And they're going to want to do that before Grandpa has even had a chance to be fed once, even if there's like a blood build. I could see that maybe one of the rushers will now divert to Grandpa to stab him just to make sure that he's incapacitated during the rush, but that's about it, right? So this change is effectively a band-aid fix to grapple mania, but it won't actually fix the issue. In order to do that, they must address it head on and fix it at a foundational level. So as we always do, let's go ahead and look at the big picture here. If this change encourages more rushing, which it 100% does, Gun will have to do one of two things in the short future. They're either going to have to remove the opening cutscene for non-Leatherface family players so they have time to set up to counter rushing, or they're going to have to automatically make Grandpa hit level 1 as soon as the victims wake him up. The irony of all of this is that Gun reworked Grandpa specifically because they didn't want family to exploit the Grandpa mechanic to use the best Grandpa perks at level 1 Grandpa. But now, not only have they literally built that exact exploit into the gameplay by making Suffocating Grip level 1, but they also giga buffed the perk, making it way better than it used to be. 25% easier for family is pretty much a guaranteed kill in most grapples if the family player is spamming the button. It's crazy how we might be moving to a meta where trapping Grandpa with Hitch becomes actually viable. Now, before moving on, one thing I want to address is that when I say tribalistic victim mains, I don't mean someone who prefers playing victim and vice versa for family mains. Tribalistic people will always pick a side and irrationally defend it to the death. So I always want to make that distinction between the normal mains and tribalistic mains, right? Anyway, the point is, tribalistic victim mains claim that grapple mania is a skill issue on family's part, but I'm trying to explain that I win the vast majority of my solo queue family matches with no comms. I have the evidence. You can watch my min-max live streams. It's not a skill issue, and furthermore, it's not about the outcome of winning or losing at all. Try to get your mindset away from that and realize that having the primary interaction between killers and victims being a cheesy button mashing contest is absolute brain rot game design, and it should not be defended in any way by anyone. And that's not even getting to the part of it that's a massive accessibility issue, right? There are just people that cannot engage in that gameplay at all. I will say though that it's kind of humorous just how one short-sighted change to the game, in this case the removing the insta-kill from grapples, can have such a massive ripple effect, right? As a content creator, it is quite fun to cover it if I'm being totally honest. Moving on, Nobody Escapes Hell has now been moved down from level 3 Grandpa to level 2 Grandpa and has seen a buff from 40% more difficult to pick locks up to 50% more difficult. That definitely has more value now, so that is a good change. Brute Strength, remember the Grandpa perk that slightly increases the damage of family? Well, now it slightly increases the damage of the family even more. Do you think they saw my video about it? Either way, good change, but it would be really helpful if the devs could just tell us the exact value of the perk instead of being randomly ambiguous about it. Moving on, we got Swinging for the Fences buffed by 5%. Fine, I guess. Now exterior alarms buffed from 5 seconds up to 10 seconds. Guys, Exterior alarms does not need a buff. I know you want to incentivize grandpa feeding, but devs, you need to understand that the reason people don't feed grandpa is because objectives can be done in a few seconds, and good family players know that trying to spare even a small fraction of time to feeding grandpa can and does throw the game. Players learn through conditioning that feeding grandpa past level 1 for a strong grandpa perk is not worth it until victims start dying and opening up more opportunity to feed him. And even making blood builds to feed him extremely fast still cannot compete with agitator or just simply feisty victims easily undoing all the work with very minimal risk. Once they stab grandpa, suffocating grip is deactivated, so they can just turn around and 1v3 the entire family team by themselves, right? I've seen it happen multiple times. The reality is that exterior alarms actually needed a nerf, specifically to where it no longer worked on basement doors. But in this alternate timeline that the devs created, we are somehow buffing it for no reason. They are literally bending themselves into a pretzel to make this grandpa rework functional, instead of just going with my idea to make all of the grandpa perks activate at level 1 in a weaker state and then progressively get stronger along with grandpa, right? That makes perfect sense. What the devs are doing now just feels like they are creating so many unnecessary new problems for themselves. It's like one of those stereotypes where a dude refuses to ask for help with directions, but then just keeps getting more and more lost until he ends up on a meat hook in some hillbilly's basement. Like, devs, have you never heard the phrase work smarter and not harder? Like, there are some band-aid fixes that can keep things running for a bit and maybe make the launch of the next big DLC drop playable, but you have to address these issues for real at some point so that they are finally solved once and for all. These half measures are just way too easy to work around. And lastly, we have the don't have all day grandpa perk also getting a 5% buff as well. Cool. So there you have the next patch. The patch after this will most likely see to try to address rushing, I'm guessing. The question is once they maybe do find a solution to rushing and grapple mania, are they then going to have to turn around and nerf grandpa? Because it feels like they're over-tuning everything to make family more enjoyable to play without really addressing the core issue of what makes family unfun to play. I will say I do think this is a healthy patch we are getting now in the grand scheme of things, but this is really starting to get fun. This is some wild balancing. The devs are starting a fire for no reason, then starting another fire to fight the fire they started for no reason. It's crazy, but it is so entertaining. Like, we can go anywhere from here at this point. With that, let me know how you all feel about this patch. Also, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video so YouTube doesn't banish me to the nether realm. And as always, thanks for watching and have a good one.